going to move into the NBA. Bradley Beal, a report dropped yesterday, a bombshell. I was on the train when I saw it, right? I couldn't really get to digest it when I was on the train. But Bradley Beal, the Wizards would work together to find a trade if the teams elect to rebuild. If the team elect to rebuild, excuse me. So which team should be more interested in trading for Bradley Beal? Once again, Dujunea, the mic is yours.
Not a soul. I'm really tired of this guy. Okay. A whole time he's been in Washington, and I have an opportunity to look at this team closely. And he's always talking about wanting to beat a guy. But when you get on the basketball court and you are the face of this franchise, it's everybody else's fault. Who does that sound like? Aaron Rodgers. Like, this guy blames everybody else but himself when it comes to last-second shots, things in the game where you're looking good and then all of a sudden you don't, and he goes missing. You can't have a guy that stature that you're paying that kind of money to, and you're saying he's the face of your franchise, to just go missing. He's not the guy to take over anything. Even when Russ was there, Russ was the guy. Russ was the facilitator. Russ was the guy. He was Robin. He has never been Batman. And if I'm any team, sure, he has a lot of things that he does well. But at the end of the day, he's a me person, not a we person. Because if he was a we person, there's a lot of times where in this weak East, they should have made the playoffs. They have enough talent. There's a whole lot of teams that look just like them. Some of them actually made the playoffs. But nobody should be trading for him. Because I think in so many ways, it's like trading for Kyrie Irving. So you're going to look at his talent. You respect his talent. But at the end of the day, we can all see on tape that he don't make his teammates better. Especially when Russ left. He's supposed to be the man. And he don't make his teammates better. But he sure enough know how to blame his teammates for crap that he should be taking responsibility for. Because you know what? You're supposed to be the face of the franchise. That's why they paid you. If it wasn't me, I wouldn't have paid you. I can tell you that right now. Didn't earn it. So no, nobody. Absolutely nobody. Wait till he hits the block.
Nobody. I mean, look, Keith Sweat will approve, right? Nobody. Yeah. Jordan Peele would approve too. Nobody. Anyway, somebody got to trade for Bradley Beal, right? And I would say this before I get to my team. I want everybody to peep the game and peep how I'm going to word this because it's important. I'm not saying that this team should do it. Okay, I'm not. But just watch how I build my block. Okay. Number one, before I proceed to that, though, I do want to give, and we should acknowledge before we proceed, to give the Washington Wizards, however you want to look at it, right, from this perspective only. Because if you're a fan of the organization, then you should not be, favor. You should not favor what I'm about to say. But from the naysayers that say the organization don't do right by the player or the star, y'all should give the Washington Wizards credit for giving Bradley Beal a lot of leverage here. They gave him the $251 million contract. They gave him, he's the only player, to my estimation, I could be corrected, with a no trade clause. So he has the leverage, right? So basically, the Wizards don't have any leverage. They sold their leverage to Bradley Beal. Okay? You talk about being loyal to a player, that's it right there. Now, with that being said, okay, I would flip that and say, I would hope Bradley Beal could be loyal to them in this manner. He should go up to the front office with at least 3 teams that he's interested in going to and allow the Wizards to get the best package out of those 3 teams. That's how you end a partnership based off loyalty. You could be loyal to somebody. That don't mean I got to be together with you, right? So that's how that should end. Now, let's say hypothetically, okay, Zay, you know where I'm going with this. Hypothetically, the New York Knicks wanted to go for Bradley Beal, and Bradley Beal wants to go there, and they offer the package. Remember, peep the wordplay here. I'm not saying they should. I'm just saying hypothetically. Then the Wizards should take that Knicks package because I don't think there's a better package out there for the Washington Wizards. The reason why I say that, it's not mainly because of the players. I think the Knicks have a lot of young assets that they can put in a potential deal, right? It's up there, top 5, not number 1, but 3, 4, possibly 2, depending on how much they put in it. But it's mainly because of the draft assets we talking here. You're talking about the Knicks that have an abundance of draft picks, first round picks for the next 8 years, if I'm not mistaken, right? Mm-hmm. Also, more importantly, if I'm not mistaken, they control the Washington Wizards 2024 through 2026 pick, right? I believe it's their first round pick, if I'm not mistaken. I know they control some of their picks. So if you're the Washington Wizards, you should want to bargain with the devil again to get your soul back. Okay? And that's where Bradley Beal can go over there along with, some of the pieces. I don't want to say no names because I am a Knicks fan. So I don't want to just throw people out there. Y'all can do y'all packages how y'all want to. I'm just talking about the picks here. Players, I'll leave that up to you. I like my guys, but it is what it is. I'm just speaking hypothetically. Now, I think a roster of Bradley Beal, Jalen Brunson, and hopefully RJ. Listen, if RJ got to be the sacrificial lamb, I'm not doing that. Especially when you talk about Bradley Beal being on the back end of his prime, and you compare RJ Barrett, who has a lot of growing to do. He can still grow into being a star. I'm not doing it at the expense of RJ, with all due respect. I like what I saw from him in the playoffs, fairly more than I like what I saw from him in the regular season. But if we can get, and the goal should be to get RJ Barrett, Bradley Beal, and Brunson on the floor together. And listen, I understand a lot of people's going to combat that with the defense, and he's not a good defender, and Jalen Brunson is a C- defender at best. But offensively, we will have enough firepower to contend. Everybody's talking about Miami right now. Well, Miami, they need to trade for a star. And theoretically, yes, they do. But they made the finals. Okay, they made the finals. They beat my Knicks in 6 games. Okay, and you could say for a variety of reasons, we didn't shoot the 3-ball well. Bradley Beal obviously helps because he's a shot creator and he could shoot the 3-ball. So that helps us there. But if there's any team that really need to go star fishing, right, that didn't make the finals and, almost won the game 5 to go to 6 games, then it should be the teams that fell short that could use another star like the 76ers or the New York Knicks. And I think the Knicks have a better package to me, and that's why it's a team that I brought to the table. Say the mic is yours.
I like those options. I like, Dujunea was the funniest. I love that one a lot. I loved your option. This team in particular, a lot of loyalty has been talked about within this team. And I think if they're really loyal to this player, then they will make this move, and that is the Portland Trail Blazers. Damian Lillard talks about he wants to bring over stars. He wants to play with some talent, bring over the talent. He's not here to rebuild. He's not here for the development of the young player. He wants to win in Portland, nonetheless. So they have the assets to do so. They have the number 3 pick. They have young players. They have other rotational pieces that can be moved for Bradley Beal. Go ahead and make the move. Why not? I think if this is what you're saying that you're willing to do, you're willing to give up for Bradley Beal, then you must do it. If you're talking about you're loyal to Damian Lillard, you want to help him win, you want to help him bring a championship, or at least potentially a championship to Portland, bring Bradley Beal over. That's probably the best move for the Portland Trailblazers right now, unless they're looking somewhere else to bring over another name, another viable piece. But Bradley Beal, we've seen, is a better number 2 than a better number 1. When he became the number 1 in Washington, it just was not in his DNA to do so. He is not the guy to put the entire franchise on, because we've seen him change how he played. When he was with John Wall, he was a number 2. He was able to score, still able to shot create, but most importantly, he was playing defense. He was playing defense at a better rate than he is now. Once John Wall got hurt. They moved on from him. Bradley Beal became the number one. He became an offensive-minded scorer only, and he forgot about the other side of basketball. He forgot about playmaking. He forgot about making the winning play. It was all about buckets to him, all about getting 40, 50, 60. Not about defending, because he could get 30 points a game, but we also saw someone put 30 points on him per game. We saw him having lapses on defense. We saw him just not really being attentive on the defensive side of the ball, which took away from his essence as a basketball player. He was one of the better two-way players at one point in time in the game. And he just changed completely once he became the number one scoring option, once he became the number one player on a team. And I think he needs to be on a team where he's not inferior, but he's the passenger in the car. He's the passenger in the bus. He's not the bus driver. He's not the one taking the franchise anywhere. He's the one assisting Damian Lillard. He's the one assisting that number one star player on a team. So I think for me, Portland Trailblazers and Bradley Beal works tremendously because Dame wants a guy, a star player on the team. Bradley Beal wants to move on to a team that can contend. And will Portland contend in the West? It's a toss-up because the Western Conference wasn't that good this past year. It was not. So if there's the same type of play that's going to happen this upcoming season, then Portland could possibly contend if Dame and Bradley Beal could somehow get on the same page. If somehow Dame could get his 30 and Bradley Beal could be that guy that could get 20, 25, but play defense. You don't need to get 30 in Portland, Dame. I mean, on Bradley. You just got to play defense and you got to get the points off of Dame. That's it. So for me, I think the Portland Trailblazers and Bradley Beal will be a good fit.
Say you open a can of worms that I wasn't really trying to open today, but I can't help myself. I guess we might as well address that Portland take, right? Because to me, one of the things I really want to say, and I was going to save it, but that was actually it. The Portland Trailblazers have, how can I say it? Remember when we had that debate a couple of weeks ago about the value of that number 3 pick that the Portland Trailblazers have in order to build around Dame? A lot of people, including you and Zach, shut down that narrative of that number 3 pick not being worth much to get Dame that star that he needs. But I think you underestimated the value of that pick. For example, the Pelicans with Zion Williamson, they are interested in Scoot Henderson. Now, we don't know what what Charlotte is going to do, whether or not, they sending up smoke screens or they're going to take him or the other dude, Brandon Miller or whatever. But let's say hypothetically, they can definitely get a star. Like, let's say they pull that deal and they get Zion Williamson over there. Now you give Dame help when he's healthy, okay? And that's a big emphasis on when he's healthy, right? Messing with daggone, never mind. I'm going to just keep it professional, okay? You know what I mean. But I think that tandem right there could work too because, Zion Williamson is one of the more physical basketball players in all of basketball. Nobody can stop him. There's nobody that can stop Zion Williamson, especially when he's attacking the rack. He has the speed of a guard on guard, 99 pod, okay? And I believe he will open up the court for Dame. And his spacing is going to open up the floor for Zion to attack. So I think that will be something that's interesting. Jaylen Brown, right? Scoot Henderson and Anthony Simons. You package those guys up. You give the Celtics a point guard that they need, that they can build behind, in a young star player that they can drive. Jaylen Brown now is paired with Dame, and maybe we see Jaylen Brown morph into a superstar, and you obviously Bradley Beal. So I think the Trailblazers have, a shot to really get a star more than what a lot of people gave them credit for, and how they probably are underestimating the value of that number 3 pick. Now, before I let anybody respond to all that, I would say about Bradley Beal and the point that you referenced about him once being a two-way star. I think when you're losing too, right? When you're losing, the effort is different, right? Because you are content with being the guy offensively and making a whole lot of loot. And that's the truth. And so maybe going to a team where it's a contending team and it's required of you in the playoffs to play defense in order to win, maybe we can see Bradley Beal go back in the hands of time and be a better version of himself, even if he's not in his prime. And I'll leave it there.
I don't know. I do like I like both of y'all's take as where Beal could go. I agree with Zay. That's been my whole thing. John Wall was the guy that the Wizards needed to keep. Uh, Beal is a number two, and ever since Wall, and then ever since Russ, he has that number one role, and he just doesn't have that killer instinct. He's not the guy that's going to take the game over in the end. And it's a little disrespectful to the Wizards to say they didn't have talent around him, because they did. You got some big men that can play ball, and that can get you shots. You got defenders. The Wizards, I believe, were stupid getting rid of Rui Hachimura, which was another guy that was helping them be well rounded. So he's had opportunities, and again, in the weak East, it ain't that hard. It ain't that hard. But I think the Wizards will do the right thing for Bradley. And I do like both options. I don't think there's better options there. I'm not really sure about the guys that I would want to get if I'm the Wizards from the Knicks. But at the end of the day, I think they're going to do what they should, in as far as keeping Beal happy. Like, they're not going to send him somewhere into obscurity, you know what I mean, and trade him to some team to where he doesn't have an opportunity or doesn't want to go. So I think they're going to give him his opportunity. And I like those two options. I really can't argue with those two options. Now, with what you said about Dame and possibly all those scenarios there, I like that. That would really solidify their team. And I think their bench is good enough, because we have to remember, right? We can get all these starting five guys we want, but if your bench ain't jack, you ain't jack, and that's how it works in this league. You can almost look at the teams in the West, because the West is the strongest. But look at the teams in the West. Look at the Lakers, for instance. Their bench just wasn't strong enough. You're missing a guy like a Montrezl Harrell. They were missing Caldwell Pope. Don't get me wrong. I like some of the guys that they have, but you're missing guys like that. Those guys were scrappy. Those guys are willing to do the dirty work. So when we talk about all this, it's great out, and that's my concern about Portland. Your bench. That's what you have to focus on. And I think with what you said there, Leel, it helps. That whole package deal, doing all of that would help them out and make their team more well-rounded. But I think just going after Bradley Beal is not enough for them, because you still have to be concerned about, is your bench good enough to keep you in games? Or are they putting pressure on your coach to get them out of there quickly before they mess it up for all of us? And now you got all your starters playing for long minutes, getting tired, more wear and tear, and then they're not ready for the playoffs. So, I can't argue with those two. You guys hit those on nail on the head. But me personally, I'm not trading for him.
Real quick, I want to say something real quick, Lil, before you get in there. I wanted to comment on the Washington Wizards take, and they did have a lot of talent. We talk about Daniel Gafford, Porzingis. We talk about Corey Kispert, who they drafted number one in their first round pick a couple years back, who's a great shooter. He's actually a good all around player. He could possibly provide some minutes there. Kyle Kuzma had a resurgent year in Washington. He's averaging 20 a game. They had Monte Morris, I believe, as the point guard, and he's solid. He's from Denver. He was a Denver Nuggets guy. He knows the tough, gritty defense. So they had talent around Bradley Beal. It just, for whatever reason, did not flourish into a well-oiled machine. And I don't know if you want to say early on because of the coach, Wes Unsel's son, who's the head coach for Washington. There's a lot of different dynamics that this Wizards team just didn't, for whatever reason, didn't work and didn't mesh well. And I don't know if that's because of Beal. I don't know if because it's just not enough experience on that team to get the guy to galvanize the troops. But it was something, and Beal just never made it was never the glue guy. It just seemed like he kind of divided the locker room more than put them together, because it was just a lot of talented dudes. But just for whatever reason, they cannot mesh well. It reminded me of the damn near 2006 Knicks when we had Stephon Marbury, Jamal Crawford, Zach Randolph, Eddie Curry, like all these talented dudes, but for whatever reason, we couldn't win a game to save our life. It was just all these talented guys on the same court just losing games. So I think, Bradley Beal moving to these destinations, possibly the Knicks, possibly Miami, possibly Portland. These are all destinations where Bradley Beal, it will be a number 2 option, and he can flourish in a system like that. Like, yeah, he's getting paid like the best player in the world, but he is a natural number 2 guy. He just flourishes more when the pressure is not on him. And there's a lot of guys like that in the league. I think Kyrie Irving is one of those guys where when the pressure is not on him, he balls out. But when the pressure is insurmountable, you see him crack under pressure as he did in Boston.
Yeah, I would just add on and close here. I want to make sure everybody, knows that he has a no trade clause. I want to make sure that's, well represented here, because that's very important. Literally, when you talk about the Rudy Gobert deals, when you talk about the Donovan Mitchell deals, and all the picks and draft assets that were in players that were given up in both of those deals, I don't think we would have such big deal because he has that no trade clause. So, I think although Bradley Beal was bringing in a contract that, it's you bringing in the Supermax to the team, you also have to realize that you don't have to give a lot of assets up for him, I would assume, because he has that no trade clause. If he wants to go there, then you have the leverage because he has a no trade clause. So I think teams should do their due diligence. I always say anytime, especially when you're trying to contend, if you're trying to rebuild, then that's a whole nother can of worms. But if you're trying to contend, you should do your due diligence and see if that trade works for you. And I'm pretty sure there are going to be teams that are going to do their due diligence on Bradley Beal as they try to get over the hump and winning the NBA championship.
Please like and subscribe for all the up-to-date content. You've been slinging shows left and right, slinging content left and right. Please don't miss anything. If you do, like, subscribe, leave a comment, or leave a question, something you may want to answer, something you may have. All ideas are great ideas. Nothing's a dumb question.